There's been a big Pokemon anime announcement in the works for about a week now, and we finally got it with the most recent Pokemon Sun and Moon anime episode. Now, people were waiting for that Generation 8 Pokemon Sword and Shield anime announcement, but what we got was something else entirely. Pokemon's new TV anime series will be broadcast. The title is Pokemon, same as when the broadcast started back in 1997. More detailed information will be announced on September 29th in the anime Pokemon Sun and Moon at 6 a.m. on Yugata. So it looks like the Pokemon anime has chosen Generation 8 as a time to reboot and include all of the regions. So this is the trailer that we got, or like the little teaser that we got. It doesn't really give us any kind of crazy information, just shows all the starters, all the regions, and hey, at least we got Galar inside of it, and then has the title, Pocket Monsters. So just going to be Pokemon, and that has a lot of weight and nostalgia when you just think about the Indigo League. It was just Pokemon. I'm going to tune in, I'm going to watch Pokemon, and I'm going to get sucked up in the culture, but this is the confirmation right here. So this actually has its own Twitter now, Anapoke. Boom, just anime Pokemon. The story goes to the world of all Pokemon. The new series Pokemon will be broadcast. Up until now, all regions up until now and in the future, all regions will be on stage. The follow-up will be lifted in the Pokemon Sun and Moon broadcast on 9/29. And then there's also like a Famitsu article, so it is confirmed that we will have all the regions in this anime. And if you guys are thinking what I'm thinking, that feels just like Pokemon Generations. And Pokemon Generations is one of the greatest things that has ever happened to Pokemon. Being able to live that game experience. It also reminds me of the Pokemon Adventures manga because it goes more into that lore. It goes into the deeper elements of the Pokemon world that aren't just in the games, but are also still canon to the Pokemon universe, the anime, even like the game timeline. It all like kind of connects in the anime, or at least in Pokemon Generations, in a really wonderful way. And as far as I remember, everyone loved it. And that's just spooky. Why not make this the anime instead of Ash? And that kind of brings up the big question. How are they going to deal with Ash in this situation? Is Ash just going to go to the Galar region and then represent Generation 8? Are they going to do like episode cycles? Or are they going to do like mini-series? I don't even know what could be going on here. Like, are they going to start out back in Generation 1 and then build up into Pokemon Sword and Shield because of that? Is it just going to be like you get mini episodes as an entire episode, or like one episode's Generation 1, 2, 3, and then it repeats back through? We gotta wait until September 29th to figure out all of that, but like I said, Pokemon Generations was massively hype, getting as many views, if not more views, than any of the Pokemon Sun and Moon trailers, because this is what brought people back. This is what people like, I've been waiting my entire life. I haven't played Pokemon in years because I grew up. I have a family now, trying to get the kids into it, but I'm still, I'm a little too old for that right now. My priorities are in a different place, but then everyone came back to watch this because this is the childhood reimagined. This is exactly how you wanted to see it as a kid, represented even more, and we can only hope that it's going to be this amazing. I imagine just Pokemon Generations spread out to a full episode. GG, because that's what people wanted. But how is it going to be done? Is it going to be an entirely original cast of characters? Is it going to be just kind of retelling the story through Red and Blue, Gold and Silver, the actual main characters of the generation they're in? Is it going to be kind of like maybe a speed through? Because there was the weird thing that happened with Pokemon I Choose You. And this almost makes sense in the way how it's being done for the anime now, because the movies, they already rebooted years ago, kind of, in a way. So they're being done a lot differently than expected, but that was also for the 20th movie. So kind of like an anniversary on its own. And then instead of getting like some kind of we actually never even got a Pokemon Sun and Moon movie. We didn't have any movie that took place in Generation 7, which is wild to think about it now, because for our summer 2019 movie, we just got a 3D remake of the first Pokemon movie. And then we had I Choose You, and then we had The Power of Us / Everyone's Story. And it's effectively just Ash kind of having these adventures that call back to previous generations. It's really hard to pin down what's going to happen because this effectively rewrote parts of the story for the anime. That Ash's original Kanto adventure 20 years later has now turned into something completely different with the new generations involved. So I kind of really like that potential element of what's going on here with the reboot, because now there's modern Pokemon. Now you can actually find different region Pokemon inside of previous regions. I don't know if this is going to represent exactly as those games did, exactly as that native region for the time that it came out, or for the generation that it came out, or we're just going to be kind of like telling all these stories again, really just setting the canon for the anime and then making that happen, because this says for the future, you know. So it's going to be really, really cool to see how all of this stuff plans out. We got that big announcement, and that is what's going to make things really fancy. I've also been like looking at some people's reactions to this. I'm gonna be real. The new information on the new anime concerns me. I'm not a fan of a possible reboot or a connection to the movies. And it's just so weird, because you see something like Pokemon Generations, everyone's all for it. Everyone wants this to be like, yes, please. Why hasn't the anime been like this forever? We should have dropped Ash a long time ago. And I think the biggest problem with Ash is that he's not allowed to be a super awesome, skilled Pokemon master, because he needs to reintroduce new audiences to the region. He needs to learn, grow with them, make friends, and he can't just have like the most baller story and then end up being the champion. But this also is where things get really interesting, because looking at the Pokemon Sun and Moon anime currently, Ash is in the position to become a champion. So are they just going to end it right there? Ash's story closes in the Alola League because he has finally made it as a Pokemon Master. He goes back home to Kanto because that's the Kanto-Alola kind of connection, and then we get to open it up for new adventures, or at least just kind of dial it back more into the games with the main characters that we have seen from the games just kind of balling super hard in, like, I wouldn't say a revisionist history or something like that, but as the story carries on. Because I think it's something like Pokemon Sun and Moon takes place 11 years, or 11 to 13 years after Pokemon Red and Blue. And that's why Red and Blue look so much older in Pokemon Sun and Moon, and when you call back to anything like Kanto, like we've seen in Pokemon Generations, they do have a much more mature look about them. And now we also have Pokemon Masters, where the story has progressed, the Pokemon world has progressed. Wait a second, this is like one of the most baller moments in any Pokemon anime ever. Please, I want this non-stop, because that is so freaking cool. And you can't do this. You can't do the super cool, amazing stuff all the time like we have with Pokemon Generations compared to Pokemon's, like, the just standard Pokemon anime with Ash. Now, there are some really cool moments. There are some really cool battles, but Ash isn't allowed to shine like we see all of the characters shine in game representations. And also even going back to Pokemon Origins, kind of retelling the story, but giving it that Mega Evolution twist. So I think that this is where the Pokemon company, or at least, you know, just Game Freak Pokemon, they want to standardize everything. They want to be like, this is how the Pokemon world works, and we want to give it the best representation possible. So that's a thing. And also, I hear that I like the formula of Ash going to each new region on a journey. And the weird thing is, this is like the first time I've ever heard anyone say that in like a decade. So people, I think the biggest issue is they don't know what they want. I mean, we could just look at the hate from Pokemon Sword and Shield and Pokemon Let's Go Pikachu and Eevee. People wanted overworld Pokemon encounters, Pokemon following them, and a less hand-holding story. Pokemon Let's Go gave that. People wanted an open world Pokemon adventure. Pokemon Sword and Shield has that. People were memeing. That's like, oh man, 10,000 or not 10,000, 1,000 Pokemon, that's going to happen at some point. Generation 8's going to have, actually no. There was that, like, Pikachu does ask that. I think that was, hey, get off me, I'm a Pokemon. Generation 7, and it was just a chair. So it's like, yeah, people are like, oh, Pokemon's running out of ideas, there's too many Pokemon. So when Game Freak takes actions to reduce that, to make the game feel better, people get upset. And I find something incredibly ironic. I was psyched to see what Galar's series would look like. Featuring all regions means it's not the Galar series. That bums me out. Except it is the Galar series, because as we saw from the teaser, it's all of the generations, including Generation 8. And I find something incredibly ironic about the Bring Back National Dexter only wanting Galar and not everything Pokemon being represented. Just saying. We also can just kind of like tie this back into Pokemon Sword and Shield that way. With the National Dex cut, you can see that there's intentional care. Because yes, this is a decision that has been made with care, because the idea is Game Freak wants to represent a smaller roster of Pokemon, but with more impact. That way you can appreciate the Pokemon, you can use the Pokemon, you can balance the Pokemon in that level, and then the next games are going to have whatever Pokemon ended up not making the cut for the Galar region, and then you have less to worry about, and you have more opportunities to have that Pokemon shine. That is one of the biggest reasons why they made the cut. Not for graphics. Game Freak isn't being rushed. Game Freak isn't being lazy. The biggest reasons are game balance and appreciating Pokemon. That's it. And I don't know why people are against that, but it's also being represented in a lot of other games and a lot of other things going on, because Pokemon Masters, Pokemon Masters, Pokemon Generations, they all kind of give that same amazing feel of representing everything inside of Pokemon. I mean, we've been seeing this. Regional variants, calling back to the older times. Pokemon X and Y, starting this by saying, hey, you have the most recent generation of starters, but we're also going to give you the first generation of starters. And then we have all these characters making cameos left and right. I mean, why is Grimsley chilling out in the Alola region? I don't care. It's cool to see just an edgy character come back like that. So, I mean, people from all over have been getting representations. There's an entire city dedicated to representing the Johto region inside of Alola, and you just kind of go through, and this is what it's about. Pokemon is about that nostalgia. Pokemon is about your original adventures. Pokemon is about those connections and your favorite characters and stuff. That's being brought back in Pokemon Masters. We got a bit of a taste of that when it came to Pokemon Let's Go, because Pokemon Let's Go changed up the story. When Lorelei bailed me out of that Team Rocket situation going on right in front of Rock Tunnel, I had a complete fanboy moment, and I was like, this is the coolest thing that's ever happened, and it gave more power. It gave more back into Pokemon, like the Elite Four and all of this lore and all this crazy stuff that's being told. So I think we have like really awesome representation going on, and then just seeing Blaine, him having like him turning his entire gym into the quiz show reimagined in 2018 with 3D graphics on Nintendo Switch. You can't beat that. So there's just so much amazing stuff that's been going on, and I am down with all of this. Now, maybe Ash represents Galar. Maybe something happens like that. I don't know, but I also wouldn't hate it if we finally change it. We reboot the anime entirely. We drop Ash. Sure, he's a marketing thing. Sure, he's a part of people's childhoods. At that point, dude's 20 years older now. Like, what does make him? That makes him like 30? Dude's 30 years old. He's over 30 years old. He's had the same Pikachu, and he gets worse every region. How about we stop that nonsense, and then we can just kind of focus on strong people being strong and then growing throughout the region much like you do, and then putting more emphasis on the lore instead of 30 filler episodes about making friends in between a gym battle or something. So if you guys enjoy the video, hope you all have a nice day. Thank you very much for watching.